Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You know on the beat every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy BC Beastie Brandon Combs coming to you live here on Wednesday night. I am riding solo tonight. Buck is under the weather. It is our normal Wednesday night where we go at the power rankings that people, quite frankly, have been coming at me all sorts of sideways on Facebook about. And I don't get it. So maybe some of you guys can help me figure out what some of these people are thinking. Maybe I'm the nuts one. I mean, I thought that the power rankings were pretty damn good, pretty damn close. One thing I think that people really need to understand is that I look at the power rankings objectively. Like, I'm not looking at them with a fan's head. If you're a Cowboys fan and the Cowboys are at 2 and they're not at 1, but they're better than the Eagles, even though the Eagles beat the Cowboys. But you're a Cowboys fan, so you're passionate and you want the Cowboys to be number 1. That's great. They're number 1 in your eyes. Cool. They're not number 1 in the NFL power rankings. Okay? If you're a Chiefs fan and you think that the Chiefs, they're definitely the best team, they can do this, they can do that. That's great. But you're a fan of that team, right? Like, look, I'm a Bears fan. The Bears ain't in the top 10. The Bears aren't even in the top 25. So don't come at me talking about, this team should be there and this team should be there. That's not what the premise of the power rankings are. It's not who's your favorite team and who looks better. And the other argument that I hate, the other argument that I really can't stand before we get into these power rankings is the argument of, well, this team beat this team, so they should be ranked higher than them. Even though the team's 2 games better than them in the standings, they beat them head to head. Good. There is so much parity in this year's NFL that any team playing any other team on any Sunday can win. The Colts beat the Chiefs earlier this year. Do you want me to put the Colts ahead of the Chiefs? The Jacksonville Jaguars. You want me to put them ahead of the Buffalo Bills? I mean, we could go back and forth all day long talking about this team beat this team or this team beat that team or this team should be ranked ahead of this team just because you're a fan of that team. Okay? That's all good and well. But just because you're a fan of that team doesn't make this team better than that team. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works, as the old commercial says. So let's get into these power rankings, okay? Before we do, I want to let you guys know NFL Week 14 Pick'em, not Week 13. Week 14 NFL Pick'em. Win $100 by simply picking some games and being active in our chat. Easy money, right? All you got to do is pick them. I'm going to be in it. Can you pick better than me? I had 2 losses last week. So let's do the pick 'em. Let's get into pick 'em. You guys can win some money. You guys can chat with us. You guys get in on the live stream. Let us know what you guys think about what we're bringing to you content wise, things that you guys want to hear. We'll bring up your chats. I'm about to bring up some people on the Facebook chats from earlier this week because I got into it with a couple of fans of a couple of different teams who feel like their team should be higher. And while you might be able to argue that they should be ahead of 1 or 2, these guys want their team to be ranked number 1, and they're just not number 1 teams. So getting into the power rankings real quick, I'm going to give you 10 through 6. I had the Jets at 10. I had the Commanders at 9. I had the Dolphins at 8. I had the Niners at 7. And I had the Chiefs at 6. And I see Wade Jones is in the comment. Wade Jones, what's going on, boss? I see you. You were one of the guys that I was going at it with on Facebook this week. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. I wish I had Buck on here so him and I could banter back and forth as well, give you a little bit better content, but it is what it is. Buck's under the weather. So I'm going to come at you with a lot of the stuff I talk. And Wade was coming at me because he's talking about the power rankings and being a Eagles hater. And he was talking about Buck, and Buck is an Eagles hater. Let's just face it. That's what Buck does. Buck hates everything. Buck is the best hater in the world. The guy calls Lamar Jackson trash. The guy says, this and that. He's got some crazy stuff out there. So he is an Eagles hater. I will give you that. But you didn't think the Eagles are going to be at number 1 on my list. And then I told you, wait for the list to come out before you come at me and we talk about the rankings. And then you found out that the Eagles were at number 1. Because at 5 through 1, I have the Bengals, Bills, Vikings, Cowboys are at 2, and the Eagles are my number 1 team. And to me, we can start with the 49ers. What's going on, Alpha Rob? I see you in the chat. Thanks for chiming in. Combs Jr., I see you in the chat. My son, my boy. What's going on, buddy? Patriots fan. Looks like he's got a Bears jersey though in his profile picture, but he's a Patriots fan. Unfortunately, it's the one thing that he didn't get from me. But the 49ers were the first set of fans that really came at me, right? So I'm scrolling through Facebook. I'm scrolling through because we put up the rankings one team by one team. The Jets came out. A couple people had some things to say about the Jets coming out after losing. But look, the Jets lost a really close game to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. And before this week, I had the Jets at number 7. So the Jets lost a little bit of ground, but they didn't lose too much ground. I don't think a loss in Minnesota, a close loss, a game that they were right on the fringe of actually winning, I don't think that should take you out of the top 10 because you played a game against a team who I have at number 3 in the power rankings anyway. I don't think that loss weights versus the people that I have in the standings behind you, which are like teams like the Baltimore Ravens, who have lost Lamar Jackson for an unknown period of time. Then I have the Commanders at 9, right? Commanders, these guys, look, they tied this week. They did not beat the Giants, but they did not lose to the Giants. And this team's been coming on strong. This team has been coming on strong for weeks. They play in right now, which is surprisingly to me, the best team in the division. The absolute best team in the division. Tori Anderson, I see you coming in. Tori Anderson says I'm fat. I mean, I am. You're right. You've been eating too much Scotty food. What the hell are you talking about? Anyway, the Commanders have been coming out strong, so I have the Commanders at number 9. And then I have the Dolphins at 8. And the Dolphins had a really bad loss to a 49ers team who I did not have in the power rankings last week. I had them at 11. And I brought them up. And I bring them at 7. And the first thing that I see is a comment on here from Tom Nutso, who says, or it might be Nuzzo. I apologize if I'm getting your last name wrong. But from your comment, I'm going to go with Nutso. So last week, y'all don't have the 49ers in the top 10. But now that they lose their starting quarterback and are down to their third string quarterback, y'all move them to 7. Okay. So a couple things inside this comment, right, Tom? The first thing with this comment is you're mad that they're in this week, but they weren't in last week, okay? And this week, they do lose their quarterback. Now they're down to their third-string quarterback, and he looked really damn good against the Dolphins. And they impressed me in that win against the Dolphins. The Dolphins did not look good in San Francisco this past weekend. But the reason I didn't have them prior to that is because prior to playing the Dolphins, their schedule was not very tough. This 5-game win streak that they're on, the Dolphins were the first real team that the 49ers have played and beaten in this stretch. And they're on a good stretch right now. Take it for what it is. They're on a good stretch. Before this stretch, though, you've got to remember your team was a 3-4 team. They were a losing team before they got to play the Rams, who are having a horrible season. They got to play the Chargers, who are not having such a great season. They got to play the Cardinals, who, again, are having a really bad season. And then they got to play the Saints, who everybody is beating this year. Who did they beat in that stretch that says to you, hey, this team that was 3-4, when they lost to teams like, the Bears, which was played in a monsoon, so let's give you that one. But then you lost to the Broncos. Who are the Broncos are one of the worst teams in football. Then they lost to the Falcons. And then they got destroyed by the Chiefs. So your wins this year, one good win against the Seahawks, one good win. You beat the Rams twice, whatever. You beat the Panthers, whatever. You beat the Chargers, who I don't even know who the hell's playing for them anymore, other than their quarterback, who's been playing with bad ribs all freaking season. The Cardinals, who cares? The Saints, who cares? And then you beat a pretty damn decent Dolphins team. So I put you back in the top 10. So what are you complaining about? The 49ers are a team that is on a roll based off of the schedule that they've had. Now, moving forward, you've got the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Commanders, the Raiders, who are playing much improved football, and then you get the Cardinals again. Go 4-1 in this next stretch of 5 games. Go 3-2 in this next stretch of 5 games. Everybody wants to come at me with this defense of the San Francisco 49ers. This defense is so good. They're shutting down everybody. They're shutting down the Rams. They shut down the Chargers. They shut down the Cardinals. They shut down the Saints. Okay. You know what? They didn't shut down the Chiefs when they put up 44 against them. They didn't shut down the Falcons when they scored 28 against them. I'm just telling you, calm down. I understand that you are a fan of the 49ers. I understand that the 49ers have won 5 straight games. But it's not like they're beating the top of the division. They're not beating the Chiefs. They're not beating the Bills. They're not beating the Cowboys. They're not beating the Eagles. So stop. Niner fans, sometimes you guys are nuts. I mean, not as nuts as Raiders fans, but sometimes you guys are nuts. So, Tom, I hope you're seeing this. I hope you watch this. I hope you listen at some point. But you've got to come at me with something better than the 49ers, not having them last week and then having them this week, and you're mad because now they're down to their third-string quarterback. I mean, maybe I've seen it all week. Mr. Irrelevant. Maybe he'll be Mr. Relevant. Maybe he'll be good. I don't see them being that good moving down the stretch. So that, for me, is why they're at 7. And they might fall out of the rankings after a loss this week, depending on how bad they look against a Buccaneers team who, let's just face it, has not looked very good. This is another team that hasn't looked very good, but they still got Tom Brady. I mean, you want to talk about the Saints? Ask the Saints what they think about that. They're 16-3 with 2 minutes to go. Team hasn't done nothing all game long, and then they put up 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes to come back and beat you. So let's see what you guys do against the Buccaneers this week. Let's see what you guys do against the Seahawks next week. Let's see what you do against the Commanders the week after that. And then maybe I'll be impressed, but I'm not impressed by the San Francisco 49ers right now. I don't understand the cry for them to be in the top 5 or the top 4 or the top 3. And don't give me that crap about their defense, because they've been playing a bunch of nobodies. They've been playing a bunch of nobodies. So then I have the Niners at 7. I have the Chiefs at 6. And a lot of people are like, wow, you dropped the Chiefs pretty damn far after a loss to the Bengals. And you're right, I did, because I expected the Kansas City Chiefs to make a statement this weekend. I expected the Kansas City Chiefs to go into Cincinnati and show that Joe Burrow was not their weakness. And Joe Burrow, it was a close game. It was a great game. I loved watching it. It was a entertaining game all the way through. But that loss to the Bengals, to me, signifies a problem that the Chiefs are going to have in the playoffs. And that is, they tend to struggle against elite quarterbacks. You know, they beat the Chargers a couple weeks ago, but they won 30-27, right? Another elite quarterback who they finally had gotten healthy, and then Williams got hurt in that game too, which kind of, hurt the Chargers a lot in that week. But that win against the Chargers, while it's an okay win. I mean, the Chargers have not been world beaters, and they've been hurt all year. That's another elite quarterback that's able to do his thing against you. Same thing with the Bills, right? You lose that game 24-20 to the Bills. Another elite quarterback. They struggle. They beat the Chargers again by 3 points. Elite quarterback, you struggle. Prior to that, other than that, they haven't played an elite quarterback. They played a Titans team that was playing with their backup, and they won by 3 points. They destroyed the 49ers. They don't have an elite quarterback. They've got Jimmy G, who's a good game manager. They played the Jaguars. They played their other wins are against the Raiders, who looked up until about 4 weeks ago. The Raiders just been playing really bad football. So these things, and that was a 1-point win against the Raiders too. And I know the Raiders are always a tough play for the Chiefs, so I'm not going to downplay it. But now this weekend you're going to play the Denver Broncos. You should walk all over them. And you play the Texans. You should walk all over them. You play the Seahawks. It's going to be a much better game, because the Seahawks, dude, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Geno Smith, man, the guy does his thing. The guy does his thing. So that's going to be a tough game. Then you get the Broncos again, and you get the Raiders. So you don't have a tough schedule down the stretch. So you realistically should probably go 5-0 down the stretch. Realistically, that's where you're at. So the Chiefs are at 6 for me. Then I put the Bengals at 5. Good win over the Chiefs. The Bengals are coming on strong. I'm really starting to see the team that went to the Super Bowl last year. I'm starting to see the team that, they're quietly 8-4, right? Like, if I told you the Bengals were 8-4, some of you guys might be surprised. Some of you guys might be like, the Bengals, they're having a bad down season. They're not, though. They're not. Get back into the comments here. Wade Jones, you must have made him mad with your power rankings. Tori, I didn't make Tori mad. The problem is that, Tori, hey, you know what? Tori, if you're still watching, I could send you the link, man. You want to join me on the show? I could use somebody else to banter with, go back and forth on these power rankings. If you're free, I'll send you the link. But no, I didn't make him mad with the power rankings. He's just giving me crap, because that's what Tori does. Of course, he calls me fat, but every time I see him, I'm out in Wisconsin where he's at, I say, hey, I'm in town. What do you want to do? He's like, well, let's go grab a bite to eat. Anyway. Combs Jr. says, I don't think we're not a bad team. We just can't play good first half football, and that's just what our problem is. But nobody changed my mind. We should have 7 wins right now. Vikings, right? Oh, come on, Junior. The the Patriots are not a good football team. They're not. They're not a good football team. Just stop. Jacob says, hi, everyone. What's going on, Jacob? Thanks for joining the show. Thanks for listening tonight. Make sure you guys click that like, share, and subscribe button too. Well, whatever platform you're watching me on right now, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you guys hit me up. Hit me up in the chat. Let me know what you guys want to talk about. Right now, we're talking about the power rankings. Man, we are not a bad team yet. I know he doesn't understand that he's not part of the team yet. He'll learn that as he gets older. You got to give him time. He's still young. But back to the power rankings. I had the Bengals at 5. Like I said, I'm starting to see that Super Bowl winning team again with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're good. They're probably going to win the North, especially with the injury to Lamar Jackson. I think the Ravens are going to really struggle. Buck thinks that the Ravens got better with the Lamar injury. I'm not sure about that, but I guess we'll see. We'll find out over the next coming weeks. At number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. I don't think there's any doubt about this team. I don't think that you can look at the Buffalo Bills and say that they are not a top 5 team. Their losses are 2 losses in the division to the Dolphins and the Jets, who are much improved, and a loss to the Vikings. And there's not much there to me that would look at that and say, yeah, this is not a top 5 team. They've got wins over the Titans. They got a win over the Ravens. They got a win over the Chiefs. They've beaten the Browns, Lions, and Patriots over the last 3 weeks, who are not very good teams, but this team is a top 5 team. I apologize if my voice starts to get hoarse as we go. Getting over the sickness that Buck is down with right now. Excuse me. So they beat one good team. What do you mean one good team? They beat the Titans, who I believe are 8-4 now, maybe 9-3. I'd have to look. They beat the Ravens, who are 8-4. They beat your Chiefs. All right, so I don't know what you're talking about. They're going to beat another good team this weekend when they beat the Jets. I believe they'll beat the Jets in Buffalo. I believe they'll beat the Dolphins in Buffalo. And then they get the Bears. And they're definitely going to beat my Bears for sure. Before they finally get to play the Bengals. And that's going to be a really good game in Week 17. So I think the Bills are probably going to win out. I believe the Bills will take the number 1 seed in the AFC. And I do think that they are the best team in the AFC. And having them at 4 tells you that I have 3 NFC teams in the top 3. And I have the Minnesota Vikings at number 3, who beat the Buffalo Bills, who are a very damn good team. The Minnesota Vikings this year, they're on another level. And the thing about the Minnesota Vikings, to me, that does not allow them to move up is Kirk Cousins. And I know people are going to say, yeah, but Kirk's underrated, and Kirk does this well, and Kirk does that well. They're 10-2. How can you have them down at 3? The 40-3 loss to the Cowboys and the 24-7 loss to the Eagles, to me, shows that they are going to struggle against really strong defenses, NFC playoff defenses in the postseason. They had a good win against the Dolphins, a very good team. They had a good win against the Commanders, a great win against the Bills. I mean, that was a great look. Dude, I'm telling you right now, they have the best wide receiver in the NFL is in Minnesota, and that's Justin Jefferson. The dude is unreal. What he did in Buffalo down the stretch while they were completing that comeback in Buffalo against the Bills when everybody was doubting them. Oh, yeah, sure, great. You can't beat the good teams. Let's see you go down to Buffalo and do what you're doing. They did it. They did their thing in Miami, who was also a tough place to play. This team is for real, but they are not as good as the other two teams, which at number 2, I have the Cowboys. And this brings me to another comment, right? So I got the Cowboys. Cowboys fans been yelling at me for weeks. Oh, you got the Cowboys at number 6 or number 5, and they just waxed the Bills. They're much better than the Bills. So I get them up to number 2. It was an impressive win this weekend. Not a very strong opponent in the Indianapolis Colts, but to do what you did versus the Indianapolis Colts, that it was impressive. But then I get Lee Smith chiming in on the Facebook page. And Lee Smith says, Dallas isn't number 2 in the power rankings. They're definitely not better than Kansas City or Buffalo. And those two teams, I can give you an argument there. I mean, you could be right. They might not be better than the teams in the AFC. Right now, they're better than them, though. Heading into Week 14, they're a better team than them. They've got a better record than them. They're a better team than them right now. And what they just did to their opponent, to me, the Chiefs lost this week. Cowboys won this week. So they're a better team this week. But then the last part of this is killing me. Because he says they couldn't beat the Bengals either. And I said, wait a minute. I could have sworn that the Dallas Cowboys played the Cincinnati Bengals. And I looked it up. And sure enough, they beat the Cincinnati Bengals this season. So, yes, they absolutely can beat the Cincinnati Bengals because they've done it already. Like, guys, look, I understand if, again, and I said this at the beginning of the show, I understand if you are a fan of a team, you always think that team is going to be great. Fans love their teams, and they want their teams to be recognized, and they want their teams to be heard, and this team is so good. Or the fan of the team that they hate, in this case, this guy's not a Cowboys fan, start spouting off at the mouth. Oh, well, they couldn't beat this team. They couldn't beat this team. But they already beat them. The Cowboys right now, being where they're at 9-3, same exact record as the Buffalo Bills, same exact record as the Kansas City Chiefs. But they're doing it more impressively, right? To beat the Vikings in Minnesota. They went into Minnesota's house and beat them 40-3. Held that team down to 3 points. Then they played a pretty good Giants team, much improved Giants team. And then they waxed the Colts. They put up 54 points on the Colts. 54 points on the Colts. In the last 6 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys are averaging 40 points per game. Averaging 40 points per game. So, yes, the Cowboys are the number 2 team in the NFL. Jay chimes in, keep in mind the Eagles, Vikings, Seahawks, Bills all barely beat the Detroit Lions while unhealthy. Vikings lose Sunday. Whew. The Lions, man, the Lions, Jay, thanks for joining in. Thanks for chiming in. Please click that like button, click that share button, get as many people in here as you want. The Lions are a team and I've said this before. I said this earlier in the season, and then actually that same weekend it became true. I said the Lions are a team. The Lions are a team that can score 45 points on any team in the league. They're just that good. The problem is they don't know how to not give up 48. And then that weekend they went up against the Seahawks in Detroit. They put up 45 points against the Seahawks, and they lost 48-45. That's what's so frustrating about the Lions. And I'm a Bears fan. Like, so for me, I'm not rooting for the Lions, but I call it how I see it, right? Like, the Bears are trash. The Bears are a shit organization right now. Okay, I'm hoping we got better times ahead of us. We've got our quarterback. I think we got our GM. I think we got our coach. Better times ahead of us, right? So don't hate me, Chicago. Man Hour Chicago on Sundays. Don't be coming at me because I trashed my Bears right now. But the Lions are a team that are frustrating because they are a very good team. They are a very underrated team, and they're a very underperforming team. They can score with teams like it's nobody's business. The problem is they don't know how to give up more points than they score in any single game. I don't know if the Vikings lose Sunday. I really don't. They might. I mean, it's the NFC North. In the NFC North, anything can happen any given Sunday. I mean, look at the Bears handed the Packers the game this past weekend. I mean, just absolutely handed them. They're like, oh, Justin Fields, you were up by 16 points heading into the half. You're running all over them, and you're doing everything you can, and you're destroying the Packers. So what we're going to do, we're going to run the ball the entire second half and take the ball out of your hands, right? And the Lions, you're right. I mean, they lose one possession games. Now, not every game is by one possession. I think maybe the games you mentioned, you were talking about one possession games because, I mean, that 29-0 loss in New England was tough to watch. That 24-6 loss to the Cowboys was tough to watch. But they play teams tight. And if they had a better quarterback, Jared Goff is not the guy. If they had a better quarterback, the Lions would probably be a team that would be fighting the Vikings for the division. They probably would. But they're probably going to lose to the Vikings this Sunday. They're probably going to lose to the Jets next week. They should beat the Panthers. They should beat the Bears. And to be honest with you, they should beat the Packers. So you might end the season on a high note. 3-game win streak. End this season at 8-9. And look, that's a win for the Detroit Lions. 8-9 is a win for the Detroit Lions. Now, if they sneak one of those other games out, you sneak one out against Minnesota, or you sneak one out against the Jets, you might find yourself backing into the playoffs. The Lions might find themselves backing into a playoff spot in the NFC. So, we got some comments chiming in. I see Casey chiming in. Says Eagles versus Cowboys, an NFC championship game, calling it. I don't think you're really going out on a limb there, Casey. The Vikings are going to have something to say about it. Look, Kirk Cousins in prime time is not a guy I'm going to put my money on. He's just not. But maybe they get a 1:00 kickoff and they don't tell him that it's a playoff game, and maybe he shows up and they beat a Cowboys team who always seems to find a way to lose their first playoff game every year. They find a way to lose it. Now you can argue that the Vikings are the same way. I do believe the Eagles will be there. I honestly believe that the Eagles might be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. That's just my belief. I know a lot of people are on the Niners right now. A lot of people love that defense. I don't think that defense is as good as people are saying. Again, I think that the Niners have beaten a lot of bottom of the tier teams during this run that they've had. Rams pick might get us a quarterback as well. That's true. It's true. The Rams pick might get you a quarterback. God, how good of a pick does that look like right now? And it's sad they're talking about Matt Stafford's injury might be a season-ending or a career-ending injury, actually, and that's why they went out and got Baker Mayfield. Now, that's an interesting thing, right? The Baker Mayfield pickup. That's very interesting. I really do believe that Baker Mayfield can be a successful quarterback in the league. I do believe that Baker Mayfield is a capable quarterback that has just not been in the right position over the last few years. He did bring the Browns back to the not the Super Bowl. He did bring the Browns back to the playoffs. And Sean McVay is a quarterback whisperer. That's what they call him. So if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be the Rams. If he doesn't succeed in LA, his career is over. And all the comparisons to Johnny Manziel are correct. I mean, let's just call it how you see it, right? That's where you're at. If you don't succeed with the Rams, all the comparisons that you've been dodging about Johnny Manziel are correct. Moving on, I see Richard Cole. Richard, what's going on, boss? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for chiming in. Make sure you click that like, share, and subscribe button, or at least one of the three, or two of the three, or all three. That'd be great. It says the Cowboys shouldn't be mentioned in the same sentence as the Chiefs and the Bills. Wow. That's a strong statement. And the reason why that's a strong statement is how well they've been playing. What they did when they went into Minnesota, Richard. I mean, they went into Minnesota and housed them in their house. So I don't know that it's actually that crazy of a statement. I do believe that the Cowboys right now are the number 2 team in the league. I do believe that they got a better record than the Bills. They've got a better record than the Chiefs. They've got some good wins on their schedule. It's not like they're just beating Powerpuff teams. They've got some good wins on that schedule, like I mentioned earlier. So I don't know that right now they don't deserve to be in the same sentence. Now, maybe come playoff time, they might not deserve to be in the same sentence. And that's where that comment has some merit, is because they just haven't proven that they can win in the playoffs. Now, go out there, win in the playoffs, beat the Eagles, head to the Super Bowl. You might change some minds, but I don't 100% disagree with that statement, Richard. I really don't. But right now, heading into Week 14, they're a 10-2 team that just shellacked the Indianapolis Colts, that destroyed Minnesota in their home. A very good 10-2 Minnesota team destroyed them in their home. And so, sorry, I'm just reading some comments here. We got, to me, the Cowboys do deserve to be in the same sentence right now. To me, heading into Week 14, I don't think they're overrated. I think they are where they should be. Rogue Jedi in here says, do you think the Bears will trade out of their pick or pick Will Anderson / Jalen Carter? So, Rogue Jedi, let me talk to you here, okay? Here's where I'm at with the Chicago Bears. And here's what I would do. If I'm the Bears GM, I have $116 million in cap space. I have a very, very, very slim wide receiver market in free agency this year. It's not very good. Go look at the free agents. They are not very good. There is a wide receiver in TCU that is 6'6" and is a horse. And look, I know all of the people out there like, oh, well, they don't use him in the red zone. They don't target him a ton at TCU. It's because they don't have a very good passing game at TCU. They're premised on the run. Their quarterback runs a lot. That's what they do at TCU. So take all of that out of it. You've got Quentin Johnston. And to me, you have a chance to go get Quentin Johnston, and you've got a chance to help Justin Fields and help your quarterback and go get a Justin Jefferson type wide receiver. And if you miss out on him, and 2 picks later, the Green Bay Packers pick him up, and you're watching Jordan Love in 2 years throw the ball to Quentin Johnston and passing you in the standings because you didn't pick him up, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a tough pill for me to swallow. I don't think that we need to go and get defense or offensive line in the draft. I really don't. I don't think that that's where the Bears need to be. I think that the Bears need to go and get a number 1 wide receiver. Go get Quentin Johnston. Pick that kid up. And let's play. Now, that's what I would do. $116 million in cap space, that's what you use to shore up your defense. That's what you do to go overpay Orlando Brown to come to your offensive line. That's what you do to go get guys to your offensive line that are free agents, because there's a lot of good offensive linemen free agents. There's a lot of good defensive free agents. That's where I would spend my money. So thanks for chiming in, Rogue. Please click that like button. Help me out here. Then we got... let's see. Oh, man. What's going on, Tennessee Titans? Let me bring this up. Okay. I do the Chicago show on Sunday mornings, and I deal with a lot of Justin Fields haters in that Chicago show. And the Justin Fields haters drive me nuts. Oh, he can't throw. He can't throw. What he did this past week to Jair Alexander, what he did this past week in the first 3 quarters to this Packers defense should have shut that down. Those 2 deep balls that he threw on a dime to put them in position in the 3rd quarter, the kid can throw. Look, people are like, "Oh, Justin can't throw. He can't. He doesn't know when to release the ball." And look, that's been my knock on him since college. It was my knock when they drafted him. He holds onto the ball too long. He doesn't hit his receiver as soon as the receiver's in his route. There are a lot of times where the receiver should turn around and the ball should be there. That is a knock on Justin. But he can throw the ball. He doesn't have time to throw the ball. It's been hard for him to throw the ball this year because he has to count to 2, and by the time he counts to 2, he's getting hit. Or he has to take off and run. That guy should probably have at least 20 more sacks than he does this year, but he escapes pressure so well, and he throws so well on the run that he's been able to avoid them. The nonsense that people come up with, Justin Fields can't throw, is a joke, and just shows that you're just not watching closely enough to actually understand what you're watching. This kid right now, if they give him a wide receiving core, they put an offensive line in front of him, if they spend the money the right way this year, if they draft the right way this year, they're going to be a top 5 offense next season. Next season. I'm not talking 2-3 years down the line. If they do the right things with this money in this draft, they're a top 5 offense next season. I don't know what you think you know about throwing, Titans fan, as you've been sitting there watching, Captain, I don't even know his damn name anymore, over there in Tennessee. Now you talk about a guy who can't throw a ball. You got a quarterback who, when you're down by 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, they're handing the ball off 90% of the time because the only guy they trust with the ball in their hands is Derrick Henry. So you might not know much about quarterbacking. I kid. I love you. It's all love. Jared says, let's skip this power rankings nonsense and let's talk why you think Xander is better for the Cubs than the Red Sox. Look, Buck told me I had to talk all football. Buck said I can't talk baseball. But you know what? Buck, you don't tell me what to do. You don't own me. We could talk baseball. Look, I'm a nerd about baseball. I love baseball. As a matter of fact, I got the MLB Network on. I come home from work. I turn on the MLB Network. I watch the winter meetings. I watch all the interviews. Like, I love this game. I want Xander in Chicago because I like his ability to play third base. If I have to watch one more season of our third baseman, I'm going to stab myself in the eye. So I think that the Cubs need Xander Bogaerts more than the Red Sox do. I hope they get him and Dansby Swanson like some of the rumors are. So there's my sneak in on baseball talk, Jared. That's why I think that he's better for the Cubs than the Red Sox. Casey Morgan says Orlando Brown is not that good. Orlando Brown is 26-year-old, sir. He is considered one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. So I don't know what you're seeing that says he's not that good, but he is that good. Brandon Jr., you Buck's son. No, he's Combs' son. He probably wishes he was Buck's son. Anyway, let's see what else we got in here. If he gets some weapons and an offensive line, he will be very, very good. He is extremely elusive. The Lions' defense was all over him. Just kept getting away. If he settles down, he will be very good. I agree. If you put an offensive line in front of him, you allow him to settle down in the pocket. You allow him to have a security net in the pocket. You give him those 4 seconds that other quarterbacks are getting. Justin Fields will develop into a great passer. This kid, he studies the game. He studies film. He watches film. He is going to be an elite quarterback in this league. I'm just I know a lot of you people out there listening are like, yeah, you're a Bears fan. You don't know what you're saying. But I promise you, Justin Fields, and this isn't just me being a Bears fan, this is me watching the game. If he was playing for any other team, I would say the same thing. Justin Fields is going to be special. Justin Fields is going to be an elite quarterback. Mark my words. Rogue Jetta says, who do you think makes the wild card spots? Well, I think the AFC is a lot easier to tell than the NFC. I just said I think that if the Detroit Lions can win one of the next 2 games and sneak one of them out, and I believe they'll win their last 3 games, I think the Lions might sneak into a wild card spot. So there's a hot take for you, Rogue. I think that the Lions could absolutely sneak in there. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for hitting that like button, Rogue. I appreciate all the listeners. I appreciate all the banter. Jay's been in here. Jared's been in here. Combs Jr. has been in here. Casey. We've had Richard's been in here. You know, we've got a lot of good listeners out there. I appreciate all the comments all week long. I appreciate all the banter on the power rankings. So guys, make sure, you know, if you like what we're talking about, if there's stuff you want to hear us talk about on the show, feel free to hit us up. Let us know, hey guys, why don't you guys talk about this today? Or what are your thoughts on this? We'll fire back with you. Excuse me. Jared says, bad take, but I love you. All my takes are bad, Jared. That's what I do. So here's another one for you. I got a private message this week. And in this private message, actually, you know what? Let me get to it here. Annabelle Lopez says, Raiders. So I promised one of our listeners, and I'm going to get to the message right now, that I would talk about the Raiders. And I'm going to read you guys this message. Okay? Here we go. Where are we at? Here we go. This was from John Denanda. And here's how it went, guys. This is me talking about the Raiders, okay? John Denanda messages me and says, why the F do you not mention the Raiders? You must be from the East Coast because you mention them more. I'm from Chicago, John. And I didn't mention the Raiders prior to the season starting. I said the Raiders were going to win the division. Boy, was I wrong. That was a terrible take. So I told him, I said, when the Raiders give us something to talk about, we will. They're 5-7. What do you want us to talk about? How they hired the wrong head coach? How they have so much talent, but they're underperforming and they can't win? I can drop F-bombs on the man hour. Sometimes I choose to. Sometimes I choose not to. It just depends on what night I'm in, what mood I'm in. And he says, Keenan Allen eats the whole chicken. We're talking smack. Got to get rid of the quarterback. The Raiders are liked more than any team in the NFL, and you know it. You're just a hater, boy. Raiders, remember that. So I told him I actually picked the Raiders to win the division. No hater here. Again, they're 5-7. They're underperforming. But I'll tell you what, tune in tomorrow night. I'll make a special segment about the Raiders just for you. So here it is. Here's my talk about the Raiders, and I apologize for the coughing. Buck's under the weather, Buck's sick. I'm just getting over it, so sometimes it just comes out. So I apologize for the coughing. The Raiders are number one. They are the best team at disappointing the hell out of you every single damn year. That's what the Raiders are. They come in and they should be so damn good. They went out and they got one of the best wide receivers in football in Davante Adams. They have a quarterback who I said is wildly underrated, who puts up numbers with the best of them, puts up top 5 quarterback numbers. They've got good running backs. They've got good wide receiver core. They've got a decent line. They've got a decent defense. And they can't put it all together. They are the biggest disappointment year in and year out. And Jay says, the Lions have finally passed that crown away. You know what? I don't ever expect the Lions to be good. So they haven't really had that crown. The Raiders, I've expected to be good for the last 3 seasons. And they've just disappointed me every single year. I don't want the Raiders to fail. I think that fan base deserves, well, some of the fan base. A lot of you Raider fans are a little woohoo. I see the videos on YouTube. You guys are nuts, man. You guys don't fight anybody about anything. But that Raiders fan base is a rabid fan base. They deserve to have a winning football team. That black hole deserves to be full every single season. The black hole deserves to be cheering for something in February. But they can't put it together. And I don't know what it is. I really don't. They go out and they get the talent. They spend the money. They do what they got to do. I watched Derek Carr do his thing. I watched Davante Adams do his thing. The Raiders are just one of those teams, though, that just disappoint you. And I don't get it. I can't even explain it to you. It's not because they're not willing to spend money. It's not because they don't draw fans. It's not because they don't have talent. They just can't put it all together. And it's sad. It's sad for the fan base. So I apologize, Annabelle. Excuse me. Dang. I'm happy that you guys have won 5. Because my idea that you guys were going to win the division, like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I thought this was going to be a different year. I thought it was you guys and the Chargers to fight it out. I really did. I thought it was the Chargers and the Raiders, and I thought the Chiefs were going to have a down year, and they were going to finish 3rd in the division. And I knew the Broncos were going to be a joke. I saw something in the stands this weekend that said, you keep going Broncos Broncos country, let's ride. And a guy had a paper bag on his face and said, Broncos country, let's hide. And that sounds about right now. I knew they were going to be garbage, but I didn't expect the Raiders to be garbage. And they've been absolute garbage all season long. So I apologize, Annabelle. I apologize to those that want to hear about the Raiders. They're just not giving us anything to talk about. They're just not. The only thing I can talk about with them right now is how disappointing they are. And I hope they turn it around. I really do. Because like I said, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it 1,000 times, they deserve to have a winning franchise. That fan base deserves to have a winning franchise. Some of y'all fans, though, some Raider fans, you guys just need to calm the hell down. Okay? I'll tell you right now, I'm rabid about the Cubs. I'm rabid about the Bears. I'm rabid about the Blackhawks. I'm rabid about Chicago sports in general. And I love sports altogether. But not once in my entire life, I've been to Cubs-Cardinals games. I've been to Red Sox-Yankee games. I've been to Bears-Packers games. I've been to Blackhawks-Red Wings games. Not once in any of those rivalry games did I ever want to fight another fan. Not once. Raider fans, I saw a video last week. The Raider fans were fighting the Raider fans. Like, you guys were fighting Jaguar fans. What the hell have the Jaguars ever done to you? Stop. Raider fans, you guys are kind of crazy. Not gonna lie. You guys are kind of crazy. Annabelle says, Bears have a good quarterback. We do. We do indeed. Don't let them haters out there talking about he can't pass. Mr. Titans over here is talking about he can't pass, he can't throw. That's nonsense. The Bears have a stud at quarterback. They just don't have any talent around him. Casey Morgan says, you lived in New England at one point. Never had an urge to suck a Pats fan? I did not. I got tired of hearing about how good Boston teams were. I was there while they were winning all those damn championships. I was there from 2003 until 2018. And I never wanted to punch one of them. I was overjoyed when the Blackhawks beat the Bruins in 2013 to win the Cup. I loved every second of that Stanley Cup. Every second of it. That was great. Pats fans, 20 years, they're the model organization. They're a model organization. They really are. My son chimes in and says, you punched me. Well, I mean, you deserved it. So I don't remember what you did, but you deserve something. But no, I don't fight over my sports teams. It's not, I'll argue with you. I'll banter with you. I'll joke around with you. I almost got into a fight one time at a game, and it was because I went to a Cubs versus Mets game in New York. I went to Citi Field to watch the Cubs play the Mets, and I was talking to a Yankees fan who was sitting behind me, and we were just talking baseball, having a good conversation about baseball, and then he started talking about Derek Jeter, and I said, yeah, look, Derek Jeter was a great leader, great offensive player, but he was highly overrated defensively. And the dude stood up. The dude stood up. He's like, what did you just say? I said, dude, calm down. I'm not gonna get into it with you. I said, I think Jeter's overrated defensively. He's made like 4 plays his entire career. That man's got a 980 career fielding percentage or whatever the hell he said. I said, yeah, of course he does. Because he only gets to the balls that are hit right to him. He doesn't range to his left. He doesn't range to his right. He gets to the balls that are hit right at him. So, of course, he has that crazy fielding percentage. But anyway, son says, can't remember anymore because you punched me. All right, we got to stop putting that stuff up because I might have, somebody calling on me. People, it's 2022. People are stupid. People try to cancel everything. So, speaking of canceling, that is it for tonight's show. Thank you guys all for joining. Great banter in the chat. I appreciate it. You guys were amazing. Guys, thanks for hitting that like button. Make sure you hit like, share, subscribe on whichever platform, whether it is Facebook, whether it is YouTube, or if you're listening to us on any of the podcast forums that we are on, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys chime in. Check out Man Hour Chicago Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. We talk all Chicago sports. Even if you're not a Chicago sports fan, get in there. You're a Green Bay fan, you want to banter with us, come at it. Our team's playing your team that week. You want to banter with us? We are all about it. We will have a ton of fun. It's a great show. Me and my co-host Ryan Fitzgibbons, we're on there. We talk a lot of good stuff. We talk baseball, talk football, we'll talk hockey and basketball too. So hop in, check it. Make sure you guys support it. Show your love. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you, Annabelle. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Jay, Brandon Jr., Richard. Anybody that I'm missing. Buck's been in the chat all night. He thinks he's dying. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Tennessee Titans, even though you're wrong about my guy at quarterback, thank you for chiming in. Thank all of you guys there. I appreciate it. Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.